Have you ever felt stuck? Like you're walking the same path every single day, seeing the same sights, feeling the same things? That was Rashid's life. For 10 years, every morning started the same way. The 7 a.m. alarm, the same brand of coffee, the same gray suit, and the same walk to the same office cubicle. His world was a neat, predictable box. It was safe, it was comfortable, but lately it had started to feel suffocating. One Tuesday, something shifted. Staring at his computer screen, the numbers and charts blurred into a meaningless haze. He looked out the window and saw a group of people in a park, laughing and learning to skateboard. They were falling, getting up, and trying again. There was an energy there, a spark of life he hadn't felt in years. That evening, instead of heading straight home, Rashid found himself walking into a music store. He'd always wanted to play the guitar, a dream he'd packed away in a box labeled Someday. That night, Someday, became Today. He bought a simple second-hand acoustic guitar. The first few weeks were rough. His fingers were clumsy. The chords sounded more like a cat screeching than music, and his neighbors were definitely not fans. More than once, he thought about quitting, about putting the guitar back in its case, and returning to the comfortable quiet of his old routine. The voice of doubt was loud. "You're too old for this," it whispered. "You're not talented." But then he'd remember the feeling of being stuck, the gray sameness of his days, and he'd pick the guitar up again. He wasn't aiming to be a rock star. He was just aiming to be different. Slowly, painstakingly, a change began. He found a beginner's tutorial online. He started practicing for just 15 minutes a day. The screeching slowly turned into recognizable notes. One evening, he managed to play a simple 3-chord song all the way through without a mistake. It was a tiny victory, but it felt monumental. A genuine, unforced smile spread across his face. It was the first time in a long time he had felt truly proud of himself for something new. This small act of breaking his routine started a chain reaction. Rashid noticed other areas of his life were still on autopilot. His lunch was always the same sad sandwich from the cafe next door. So the next week, he packed a lunch. Then, he decided to try a new route to work, discovering a beautiful little side street with a bakery he'd never known existed. He started saying yes to things he would have once said no to. A coworker's invitation to a weekend hike? Yes. An offer to join the company's charity bowling team? Why not? He was terrible at bowling, but he laughed more in that one evening than he had in the entire previous month. His world began to expand. He met new people, people who didn't know Office Rashid, the quiet guy who kept to himself. They knew Bowling Rashid and Hiking Rashid, and soon they would know Guitar Rashid. He found a local open mic night. The thought was terrifying. His heart pounded just thinking about it. Getting on stage in front of strangers? It was the exact opposite of his carefully constructed comfort zone. For a week, he debated it, the old fear battling the new sense of adventure. The night of the open mic, he almost turned back 3 times. He stood outside the cozy cafe, guitar case in hand, his palms sweating. He could just go home, turn on the TV, and forget the whole thing. No one would know. But he wouldn't. You would know he let fear win. Taking a deep breath, he walked inside. The room was warm and filled with the low murmur of conversation. When his name was called, his legs felt like jelly. He walked to the small stage, sat on the stool, and looked out at the faces watching him. For a second, he froze. Then, he looked down at his guitar. He remembered the clumsy first chords, the sore fingers, the small victory of that first simple song. This wasn't about being perfect. This was about being brave. He took another breath and began to play. It was that same 3-chord song, the first one he ever learned. His voice was a little shaky, and his fingers weren't flawless, but he played with a passion he didn't know he had. He wasn't just playing notes, he was telling his story. The story of breaking free. When the last chord faded, the room was silent for a beat. And then, applause. It wasn't a stadium roar, but it was genuine and warm. People were smiling. A woman in the front row gave him a thumbs up. Walking off the stage, Rashid felt a rush of exhilaration unlike anything he'd ever experienced. It wasn't the applause that mattered, though. It was the fact that he had done it. He had faced his biggest fear and walked right through it. Rashid's life didn't magically transform overnight. He still worked at his office job, but it no longer defined him. The cubicle walls didn't feel like a prison anymore. They were just a part of his day, not the whole of his existence. His life now had texture and color. He had his hiking friends, his bowling team, and his music. He was still Rashid, but he was a newer, more vibrant version. He was a man who knew that comfort is nice, but growth, adventure, and the courage to try something new, that's what makes you feel truly alive. The point of Rashid's story isn't that you need to go buy a guitar or get on a stage. It's about recognizing the walls of your own comfort zone. What's that one thing you've always wanted to do but told yourself you couldn't? Maybe it's learning a new language, taking a dance class, trying a new recipe, or even just striking up a conversation with a stranger. The first step is always the hardest. Your brain will give you 1,000 reasons why you should stay put, why it's safer in the box. But everything you've ever wanted, every new experience, every bit of growth is waiting for you just on the other side of that fear. Think about it. What's one small, tiny step you can take today to push your own boundaries? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It can be as simple as trying a new coffee shop or listening to a genre of music you normally wouldn't eat. The journey out of your comfort zone starts with a single step. Rashid found his first step in a music store. Where will you find yours? Start today, start small, and see where it takes you. You might just be surprised at the person you find waiting on the other side. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content that inspires you to live a little more fully. We'd love to hear in the comments what you going to do to step out of your comfort zone. See you in the next video.